Hey, why does hate do that? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men by Lundy Bancroft.
Hey, guys.
So
There's my
where
little
were you?
man.
Daddy, where were you?
I was working.
Where have you been?
I don't understand.
All night. I called you, I left you messages, I even waited up for you. And you're just getting back.
Well, that's why you know that when I go out chasing a deal, I usually stay till it's done.
I know, but it's not fair to leave SJ and I alone all night. The boy is starting to ask questions.
You know, I knew it. With all the questions he was asking and, where was I should help him with his homework, I know you put him up to it. I mean, I can't help that. I had to chase a deal that took me all the way to Ikorodu and then all the way back to Songotedo.
That's a lot. Look, I know you work so hard, but you still have to make an effort. Eh? So we don't set a bad example.
Oh God, would you just please stop bugging? Am I not doing all of this stuff so that we can have a comfortable life?
Soj, I know and I understand.
Do you really? It looks like when I go out and I'm chasing money, you prefer that I'd rather stay here and depend on you so that you can lord it over me.
That's not fair. In all the time we've been married, I never bring it up that I'm the one bringing in the money. Because I believe my money is our money.
Okay, so why bring it up now? Why bring it up now? Look, I see through all this your act. I see through it. It doesn't fool me because I know that you are very resentful and that's why I will continue to try. So if it means that I stay out all night, so be it. Don't call me, don't be worried.
Soj, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to make you upset. Calm down, I'm sorry. Yeah, but you two, why are you now leaving emojis on Chinasa's Instagram?
Huh? Are you
Soj,
kidding?
we're married now, and people notice these things. Even my friends were starting to ask.
Your friends. Look, Adeswa, if you don't want me to go anywhere, or you don't want me to have any friends, you better say that now so that I will know that I'm in prison now.
I didn't say that.
No, because marriage to you is a place where you have no friends and you can go nowhere.
What's going on?
Mommy, good morning, ma. Did we wake you up?
Why won't you wake me up? Eh? When you are shouting at my son in his own house so that the whole neighbors can hear, how won't you wake me up?
Mommy, I'm sorry. I didn't know we were disturbing you. I was just asking Soji here why he was...
Why what? Instead of you to think of how to relax your body so that it can produce a second grandchild for me, you are here fighting and shouting at him every single time. I'm
sorry, ma.
Sorry for yourself. See, I know what is your problem. You don't want my son to go out and progress, Abby. You want him to be here empty-handed so that you can continue to control him with your money. But you know what? You have failed. Oshi.
Mommy, it's okay.
Oh, welcome me. Me, I just came to say my own. No. Vaya well, sorrow. Handle your wife, oh.
Mommy, you're okay.
So we're okay. Eh?
Actually, more okay. I'm actually going to go out again. Yes, some guys called me to talk about a brief that I submitted earlier in the week. So, I mean, I just came back so that I could tell Adeswa that I'm going to spend the whole day out today again.
Say you, Malaysia. So you are taking permission from your wife to go out? Hey, Soji, Okunrinye, you are the man of the house. Shebo shewe. Do you hear me? Do as you like.
Mommy.
Torí pé orí lè gbé ni.
What? She's my mom. What am I supposed to tell her? See, baby, my guys are calling me. I need to go take a shower, okay?
I recently reviewed The Smart Money Woman, a Nigerian TV show. The show follows 5 friends, one of whom I was concerningly, often regrettably, hard on. Adeso is married to this leech of a man who recklessly spends her money with his boys and hookups, gets scary mad when he's called on it, and by the close of the series has run off with all her money, leaving her and her son with nothing. During my review, I ranted about how dumb she is, how sperm makes you stupid, and more along that line. I knew her husband Soji was trash, but in my head, there's this expectation that women with money should just leave bad relationships. Like, what's keeping you there? I felt bad about being so hard on her, especially considering how scary, intimidating her husband sometimes got. A classic sign of abuse, which meant I was wrong. And I knew I was wrong in my criticism of her just because she's a rich woman. Even rich women are victims, and the problem remains abusive men. The problem remains patriarchy and all the ways it pervades our society. So I started reading Lundy Bancroft's Why Does It Do That? Inside the Minds of Angry and Controlling Men. And let's just say that I've been learning a lot. Beyond that, it's given me such compassion for women who get caught up in the grip of abusive men. If you're not able to read the book and want an in-depth investigation into what he says, I got you. It's no substitute for reading the book for many reasons, including the book has such great examples throughout, examples that I haven't been able to include. If you can, read it or get the audiobook. The plan was to put this out weeks ago, and then life happened to me. And shortly after that, we were knee-deep in a revolution that started with rejecting the Finance Bill 2024. After the protest started, I found myself wondering if this was the right time to put this out. For some reason, I felt I should be focusing on pure political works. But then it turns out men don't post their violence against women because we're building a movement. Reports of women and children being brutalized by men continue to be reported daily. Plus, someone shared a reading list on the women of the Black Panther Party discussing the folly of ignoring the gender question and all that's attached to it, including patriarchy and misogyny. So here we are. Right in the middle of this revolutionary period, we need to continue to speak out against all forms of abuse against women. They're not putting their abuse on break, and so neither can we go on break. So let's get started learning about abuses, and hopefully we'll learn some things that will help protect us and make us more understanding of abused women. Introduction. Here's some key things from Bancroft's introduction, just so we're on the same page. Abuses. It's a heavy word, and many people would be hesitant to apply it to their partners. Bancroft uses the term abuser because he wanted a simple word that could, quote, apply to any man who has recurring problems with disrespecting, controlling, insulting, or devaluing his partner, whether or not his behavior also involves more explicit verbal abuse, physical aggression, or sexual mistreatment. End quote. Abuser is just a shortened way of referring to men who use a wide range of controlling, devaluing, and intimidating behaviors, and as a result, chronically make their partners feel mistreated or devalued. So if you're hesitant to apply the term to your partner, that's fine, but that's his reasoning for using it. Abusers equal he. While people can be abusers regardless of gender and sexuality, Bancroft chooses to use the pronoun he to refer to the abusive person and she to refer to the abused person because, quote, they correctly describe the great majority of relationships in which power is abused, end quote. Bancroft also focuses on heterosexual relationships, though the principles are transferable. Who's the book for? According to Bancroft, the people who can best benefit from this book and all his land are women. He says, quote, the people who can best benefit from knowledge about abusers and how they think are women. He says, quote, the people who can best benefit from knowledge about abusers and how they think are women, who can use what I have learned to help themselves recognize when they're being controlled or devalued in a relationship, to find ways to get free of abuse if it is happening, and to know how to avoid getting involved with an abusive man or a controller or a user next time. The purpose of this book is to equip women with the ability to protect themselves physically and psychologically from angry and controlling men. About the work he does. When Bancroft got started, they had a program for men who abuse women. The men who attended his program then did so under heavy pressure from their female partners who were threatening to leave the relationship. Later on, they started getting clients who were mandated to attend by the courts. This second group was more violent, but get this, they weren't that different from the first group that was forced by their partners to attend. Bancroft says, quote, during the 1990s, the legal system became much more involved than it had been in the past in responding to domestic abuse, with the result that court-mandated clients started at first to trickle and then to pour in the doors of our program. These men often had a much greater propensity for physical violence than our earlier clients, sometimes involving the use of weapons or vicious beatings, resulting in the hospitalization of their partners. Yet we observed that in other ways, these men were generally not significantly different from our verbally abusive clients. Their attitudes and excuses tended to be the same, and they used mental cruelty side by side with their physical assaults. Equally important was that the female partners of these battering men were largely describing the same distresses in their lives that we were hearing about from women who had been psychologically abused, showing us that different forms of abuse have similar destructive impacts on women. End quote. On abusive versus non-abusive men, he found that abusiveness has surprisingly little to do with how a man feels and everything to do with how they think. The answers to why they behave like they do are in their minds, not their feelings, which are no different from those of non-abusive men. The tragedy of abuse. Quote, the abuse of women in relationships touches an unimaginable number of lives. The U.S. Surgeon General has declared that attacks by male partners are the number one cause of injury to women between the ages of 15 and 44. The American Medical Association reports that 1 woman out of 3 will be a victim of violence by a husband or boyfriend at some point in her life. End quote. Beyond that, partner violence is linked to 1 out of 4 suicide attempts among women, as well as substance abuse problems in adult women. The abuse of women also messes up kids. Quote, experts estimate that 5 million children per year witness an assault on their mother, an experience that can leave them traumatized. Children exposed to violence at home show higher rates of school behavior and attention problems, aggression, substance abuse, depression, and many other measures of childhood distress. End quote. Abusers rarely change. Abusers rarely change. Bancroft says counseling men is difficult work, and men are rarely willing to face up to the harm they're causing and have caused women and children. Quote, they become attached to the various privileges they earn through controlling their partner. End quote. Giving up privilege is a bitch. So why does Bancroft work with abusers if it's so hard for them to change? 1. If even one of the men changes, he'll have made a lasting impact on his wife and kids. 2. It's important for abusers to be called out and forced to reckon with what they have done. 3. This is the most important one for him. He considers the woman being abused his primary client, not the man. Bancroft says, quote, I consider the woman that my client has mistreated to be the person I am primarily serving, and I make contact with her at least every few weeks. My goal is to give her emotional support, help her learn about counseling and legal services that exist for her in her community, usually for free, and help her get her mind untangled from the knot that her abusive partner has tied. I can make it more difficult for him to manipulate her and I may be able to warn her of underhanded maneuvers that he is planning or of escalation that I'm observing. As long as I stay focused on the woman and her children as those who are most deserving and in need of my assistance, I can almost always make a positive contribution, whether or not my abusive client decides to seriously face his own problem. End quote. Caution. As we delve in, Bancroft reminds us that while reading this book can be clarifying, it can also be painful and distressing. So find someone you know to talk to, or even an abuse hotline if it unearths more than you can handle on your own. Bancroft says something interesting about the importance of finding someone you trust, someone you can open up to if you have concerns about your relationship. He says, quote, "This is probably the single most critical step you can take towards building a life that is free from control or abuse." End quote. This is why women speaking up and sharing their stories is a lifesaver. Find someone you trust. In closing, Bancroft says abusers can be so unpredictable in their behavior, leaving their partners perpetually confused as they turn the relationship over and over in their minds. He says he hopes with this book to clear away all that confusion that a man's abusive behavior creates. He'll help you identify what your partner is doing and why. No more confusion and endless thinking with your mind focused on just this one thing. You'll be free to focus on other things and go back to living your life. Cool. Let's jump in.